absolutely beautiful day today to be doing some quilting. It's a little cold on Lake Superior here where I live, so I've got a fire going. I have a Stardrift quilt that I'm working on for my daughter that I'm trying to get finished as a gift. So I'm on a timeline and I'm hand quilting it because I love hand quilting. So I thought I'd take you along today to quilt with me. I hope that you are working on your own quilting projects and that we can have some fun together just quilting. You'll get to see my beautiful fire, enjoy my hand quilting, and a little bit of chatter here and there. So let's get to quilting together. Let me take you over and show you the progress I've made so far. So here's the quilt laid out on my floor. And you can see quite a bit of the hand quilting is done already. I use really big stitches, which you'll get to see if you want to watch, so that it goes faster. And I probably have only been hand quilting for about 5 hours so far, which might seem like a lot, but for a quilt like this, it's really not. I don't have a lot left. So I have this corner here that I need to do, and this kind of triangle space here, this little corner here. This part is all finished so far, which makes me really happy, all the way over until we get to that corner, which needs doing. So see if I can, looks like you can see the quilting a little better from here. So basically I have this corner, just a bump there, most of that corner there, and then up into that. This is my Stardrift quilt that I've done in the Tula Pink Full Moon Forest 2 fabrics, but not most of the big animal prints. I was actually going to use those as those star faces, but they were too busy, and I just thought that they would get lost based on what I saw when I laid it out. So I went with solids for my star faces, and I just absolutely love this. I originally was making it for me, but my daughter fell in love with it and begged me for it. And when you have an almost teenage daughter, it's hard to say no to them if they want a quilt. I also love, though, like there's a little kitty peeking out there, and an orangutan or an ape or something, little raccoon. It's all sorts of fun. So this is on my floor, pretty sunlight coming in from the lake. There's a little view. So let's take this over to the fireplace and start hand quilting. All right, so I have to be careful because the fireplace over there is quite dirty, so I can't let the quilt hang down over there. I use my legs when I hand quilt. I don't know if there are any other hand quilters watching this. And I thread bind instead of doing safety pin binding. I use the safety pins on my corners, but mostly I just use all these little threads. So I am excited to dive into this today. It's such a delight to be able to do this. I always use a thimble, and I have some straw Milliners 3 that I use for sewing, and I have lots of them in there, which is fun. I actually use multiple needles at the same time, and you'll see how I do that if you care. So those will come out. Actually, we'll set these over here. I've got Orifill threads from ages ago. That is 12 weight that I'm using, and I love them. They're my favorite for quilting, and I love being able to see the stitches, and I love having lots of bright colors. I've been switching colors, like there's teal here and lime green here, and trying to keep it kind of matched up. Got a beautiful little Kai scissors. You can get these from, where is it? Prim Americas. It's through the OmniGrid company. That's what they go by now, is Prim, with a nice little leather sheath that my partner Dale made me because he's amazing. And these little things are so sharp on the end, you can easily poke yourself or poke a hole. So you need to be really careful. I think that's mainly what I'm using today from my bag. So take some coffee. I got coffee with me. What are you drinking today, and what are you working on today? I will be chattering. This is the second time that I am recording a quilt with me video. And I'm going to be honest, I don't even know if I will have published the first one because it was a little bit of a train wreck. And it's because I was piecing this quilt actually. And because I was chattering and talking, I got distracted. I made so many mistakes, and I had to go back and seam rip so much stuff, but it was still fun to do. So I thought, you know what, let's give it another try and see before I give up on this, because, well, one, I feel like I'm not so alone quilting. But two, I'm like out of stuff to listen to right now, which is kind of ironic since I am creating this so that you can sit and listen while you do your own quilting. You don't have to watch. It's not a tutorial. It's not like a big how-to. You might pick up some tips or, yell at me for not doing everything perfectly by the book. But there's just something kind of neat about the idea of bringing you into my beautiful home and having you quilt with me. So if you're here listening, I would love to hear or see what you're working on. If you want to put a comment in the comments and tell me what you're working on. Obviously, this isn't live, so I can't see it and react to it right now, which is fine because the other part of this, and the other reason I'm doing this, is I'm using my phone to record so that I don't get distracted by it and jump online, because I have some stuff I have to do online later today. It's really easy to get distracted by a phone, and I really would love to finish this today. I might not finish it in the sitting because, like I said, I do have a meeting this afternoon that I have to be at in a couple of hours. So if I'm not done by then it'll have to wait till after my meeting is over. But for now, we're quilting together, and it's beautiful. It is a sunny December day. It is so cold outside. It's like 11 degrees and windy. So it's very wintry and cold here, which is why I have the fire going. And I put it in the frame because isn't it a beautiful little fire? My partner Dale makes tons of firewood. Every year we have a fire going all day long in winter because one, it helps with our heating bills. But two, I just really love it. I love having this fire and sitting in front of it. And so does he. So he loves making firewood as well. And we have forest. We do not live in town. We live out in the woods on the lake. And so we have plenty of wood around that can be made into firewood. The sad thing is, part of the reason we have so much wood is because the forests are not healthy here. They're definitely struggling. And so there's a lot of trees that have died or fallen over that are perfect for firewood, but it's kind of sad because the forests are changing. There's new trees coming up. It's a boreal forest right now, which means lots of birch trees and popple trees and different spruce and fir trees, some pine, although it feels like everything has some sort of disease that's killing it off. But a lot of what's coming up as those things are dying is like ash and soft maple and different things that are not as common up here, that I think is just a matter of climate change. But this is not meant to be political or foresty. I'm just trying to share what's on my mind. I have finished my first row of hand quilting, which is exciting. I'm just tying this knot off over here on the edge since I don't have to do it in the back when we're on the edge like that, which is nice. And you can see how quick these big stitches go when, oops, I can't put that needle in my mouth and talk at the same time. When you are just going straight and you don't have to move the quilt around. I don't know how many years I'll be able to sit like this and quilt like this using my legs as a frame. You'll notice I'm not using any quilting frame, and I prefer not to, in all honesty. Let's do some purple here because one, I feel like this is more cozy. I've got a big hoop I could use. I've seen frames, but I really like to have the flexibility of moving my quilt around easily and not having to, I just don't like having it pulled tight. I don't find that actually very helpful. So as long as I baste it enough, which I don't know if you can see the basting threads here or not, but I have found that I really do not need to worry about the frame. Like nothing lays bad. Like it lays wonderful. I can get it. I flatten it with my hands like this to make sure that, nothing's being pulled. And I just find this is by far the most comfortable, easy, lovely way to hand quilt for me. And I'd rather not use a hoop. Honestly, it feels restrictive. So the reason I use these big needles, which I didn't used to, thinner needles are fine. Smaller needles are fine too, but you can't get as many stitches on the needle at one time. I try and load up my needle with stitches. I'm using wool batting, which you can see is quite lofty. It's actually really lofty. And so it's thicker to go through. You're not going to get real tiny stitches through it. I mean, maybe you could, but it would be a huge amount of work to do that with hand quilting, like with a tiny needle, and do it the way that the show quilts used to be years and years ago, when people used to do crazy things like 8 to 10 stitches an inch or less. I've seen some Amish quilts with hand quilting that are just insane, like in the best of ways. I mean that as a compliment. But that's just not my style. I'm the mom of 6 kids, and I prefer hand quilting to machine quilting. I think it's a softer finish. I also think it's just one of my favorite parts of the process. So I prefer to do this, but I'm doing it to finish it. I'm not doing this for show. Even if I was, I've just found that big stitches finish faster, and I like the look of them. I can thank my cousin Emily for this. She doesn't quilt anymore, but she did for many, many years, and I could not believe that she hand quilted her quilts. And she's just like, big stitches. And sure enough, they do go faster, and they leave a really beautiful finish. And she kind of gave me the permission that I needed to break out of the shoulds. I don't know if you have any like internal rules that you feel beheld to. That's quite the word. It's probably a Jamieism. But I definitely felt like if I was going to hand quilt, it had to be tiny stitches and tiny needles and whatever else, and perfectly done and all, traced out. And I don't do any of that. I free ball it all. Is that an appropriate thing to say? It probably isn't. But I just do it by eye. And sometimes my threads get pulled a little bit. Since I know that corner is pinned, I'm just gonna snip that basting thread now, because these are already attached together. I don't have to worry about that. It does get to be a little bit more tricky on the edges where I don't have as much around me to hold it tight, but it's not that bad. Let's see, I want teal for this one, and I have some teal in here left over from some other places that are big enough, so I'm going to use these up. I do like to be efficient. Which one's long enough? I do think that efficiency is another one of those shoulds. Like I was taught in everything in life, don't waste things, like eat your food. There's starving kids in Africa. I don't know if you heard that growing up or said that to your kids, but that was like something I heard plenty growing up. And, the same thing with fabric waste and, thread waste and anything. I realized a few years ago that efficiency is like one of my biggest values, and that waste was always seen as so bad and so wrong and made you a bad person, and all of this, frankly, shit that wasn't really helpful and not necessarily even true. Like, yes, I do think that we should be, careful of how much we waste, especially when it has an environmental impact. I love nature. I respect nature. I want to preserve it. I'm inspired by it, living in such a gorgeous place like I do. But at the same time, I also see in nature lots of waste. I don't know if you've noticed that, but like even apple trees out in the middle of the woods that were planted, ages ago, or somehow ended up here ages ago, that have bushels of apples every year that go to waste, and, gardens and harvests, and nature has such abundance that sometimes I think mindful, like, I don't think we need to get so hard on ourselves when there is a little bit of waste here and there. So I still love efficiency. I still absolutely want to take care of our environment and minimize the impact of that. But I also have learned that if that is the only rule, it can really stifle my creativity. And sometimes when I give myself permission to just play and like take some of my scraps that I have left over and allow myself to play. Play is the best word I can say. To experiment and try things and not worry about being efficient, like allow myself to waste, which feels so wrong. But when I allow it in a controlled way, then sometimes the most beautiful things come out of that, because in some ways, creativity is wasteful, as much as I'd hate to admit that. And the value of creativity, as long as we're, within reason, which is true of almost everything in life, like the little bit of waste that comes out of it compared to what we use seems like a small price to pay if we're mindful of things and, not just completely entitled and wasteful. Like it's not a bad thing. Like I think some of the best innovation and some of the best design and art came from allowing yourself to play. And without waste, it's hard to play. If you have a plan and everything has to be efficient, it can kill that sense of play. And play, I believe, is really where much joy and creativity is found. So I'm trying to get back into playing more. It's actually how I created Luminary. I was playing with different fabrics that I had left over from a quilt that I had made. I had extra strips, and in some ways it came out because I didn't want them to go to waste. I was playing with them and sewing them together and found some interesting things. And then I thought, you know what, let's cut into some of my scraps and play more. And I created a bundle from my stash from various fabrics I had left over from other projects or that I'd bought because I liked them and hadn't, used yet or whatever it was, and started cutting them up and allowing myself to play. And the most amazing design came out of it. It changed my life. And that's not a small statement, but it literally came, I didn't set out to create a new quilt design or a quilt pattern. It wasn't even on the radar. I was just playing. And that pattern has literally changed my life and allowed me to make a career out of quilting that I would not have been able to do otherwise. So I'm really grateful. And that came from, I guess, in part, not wanting to waste scraps. So it's efficiency, but also allowing myself to let those scraps become waste if it didn't turn out. And to just let myself have permission to experiment without worrying about the outcome. And it was literally life-changing. So, all right, I finished this corner up. It's beautiful. It's done. I'm going to move on to this. But before I do, I have to put another log on the fire because it's burning down. On to our next section. I got a bunch of ash on my pants that won't come out, so I don't think it's going to get on my quilt, but that was kind of annoying. All right. So for this section, let's talk out loud and think out loud. I'm going to have one more outline here. I've been trying to outline the inside parts of these starburst effects that I have. So here, it's an easy one to see. There's 7 really big stars on this quilt, and I arranged my half square triangle blocks so that it would look like a drop in the water that ripples out. And so this whole quilt has kind of this, it goes out until it meets another one. So, this is not going to be the best place to show it, but here there's, what did I just drop? My teal thread. So right here, hopefully you can see this. There's a big one here and it's rippling out. And then over here, there's another one and it's rippling out. And where they meet, you can see, so I'm putting the stitches on the inside of each of those ripples. I guess you could call them that. And then here too, they're on the inside. So in some places there are 2 lines of stitching next to each other. And there will be over here as well. But I'm kind of doing them section by section. I am outlining around the big stars, but I didn't outline around the little stars this time. I did that in the first Stardrift quilt that I made. This is another one of my patterns that came out of play again. But I want to get this done faster. And these take a long time to go around because you have to turn the quilt 4 times really fast. And every time you turn the quilt, it takes a lot of time, which it might not seem like it, but if you add in a couple of minutes, like let's say it takes an extra 10 minutes for each star. I've got, I think 37 stars or 39 stars, something like that, in diamonds. And so it's just a lot of extra hassle. So when you do hand quilt, because I'm on a deadline and because they're not that big, I mean, there will be holes in my stitching. So like here, there's a gap in my stitching because there's a star on the other side. But it's still small enough gap that I will have enough hand stitching in this to not have to be concerned. So the batting will hold up just fine. Not worried about that at all. So in the name of trying to get this done, I am just letting it go. And I'm not stitching around any of the stars except for those big ones that are in the middle there because they do need some stitching. Otherwise, there'd be too big of a gap. All right. So now, because of that, to get inside this little thing, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of stitching. And because there's a corner in this, there wasn't on the other side. There was just one straight line. I'm actually going to do all 4 lines with 4 different needles before I turn my quilt to sew. So that's a little different than how some people do it. But every turn of the quilt adds extra time on it. See, here's my efficiency coming out again. And it's not that quilting needs to be efficient, but I do want to finish this in time. So I am going to just go for it. And I think up here for this one, I'm going to use this green. And I kind of measure it out. And I'm going to end it at the star, and then I'll switch to pink or something else. So get an idea of how much thread I need. I'm just doing a single strand of this 12 weight. Sometimes I actually even double it over when I really want the stitches to be shown. But in this case, I think because it's 12 weight, it's quite a bit bigger. I don't really need to have it, so I'm just doing a single one. All right, here we go. I love when I can start on the edges and not have to go through my flannel in the back. I put flannel on the back of my quilts because it's just so soft. Wool, flannel, it's perfect for the Minnesota winters. And the wool actually is very breathable in summer, surprisingly. So it works for a summer quilt as well. I don't know if it would work as a desert quilt, but wool is like magical. I wear wool. I wear wool year round. Well, not always in summer, but I wear wool in winter every day. I always have like a base layer of wool under my pants, not because it's cold in my house. We heat the house. We have a fireplace. It's lovely, but because I'm so easily chilled and I just prefer having that little extra bit of warmth against my body. And I like to be cozy. So, there you have it. I usually have a wool shirt on as well, but right now it's sunny, which for my greenhouse of a house with all those windows, even though it's freezing outside, excuse me, even though it's freezing outside, like it is warm in here between that and the fireplace and then this quilt on my lap. So I'm actually just in a cotton t-shirt right now. But normally I've got the wool on, sometimes a couple layers. Look at this little bunny peeking out. Hello, bunny. I love that. I really love these fabrics. I'm kind of sad that that the fussy cutting pieces were so busy because they just did not work very well for these stars with this busy background, at least not for what I had envisioned. I even asked my daughter about it because she loved all the little animals that I had fussy cut for it. But it wasn't the right thing for this quilt. So it would have bothered me more to have them in here than not. So now I have all these little fussy cut animals that I need to find something to do with actually, my daughter was like, let me see them and keep them. Maybe I'll do something. So if that inspires her to sew or make a collage or something, I'll call that a win. That's an example of waste because I really cut into a lot of fat quarters and really made some Swiss cheese out of them. But in the end, this is about me and my creativity, and I didn't want to hate looking at this quilt and saying, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. And so this is my hobby. It serves me. That is the main goal. The main purpose of quilting for me is for me to love what I do and enjoy the process and, create love that my kids can use and wear and feel through my quilts. I always tell them I sew my love into the quilts. And so if at times I make a change that causes some waste like that, I say, okay, it's okay. Did not mean to get on a rant about waste today. I know that that's such a hot topic. Okay. But that's just where I'm at. All right. So now I'm at my corner. I'm not going to actually turn the corner and keep going yet. I'm going to get another needle and I'm going to start sewing this side. And I'm going to probably pick this yellow for this next line because it's kind of a warm yellow. It's not orange, but it's definitely got plenty of kind of golden color in it. So here it's going to look good. And then over here, when it's next to this, it'll look great. So I'm going to kind of quasi measure out how much I need, plus a little more. Such a fun quilt, and I love hand quilting. This is what I meant when I said I use multiple needles at the same time. It might seem weird, but then when I turn the corner, I can finish all 4 really fast. And making a jump from one line to the next can be done. I've done it with thread before, but I don't ever like to leave a lot of thread hanging like in the middle of here like I did. So I just try and do it this way, and then I can get more efficient. And I don't have to leave threads hanging in the middle of the quilt. Not just like, with an end, it's attached, but just my preference. Well, now that I've been talking about waste so much and efficiency and my relationship with that and creativity and play and all of that, what are your thoughts on it? If you want to take a break and leave it in the comments, I'd love to hear your relationship with waste and fabric waste and efficiency and what kind of, maybe you don't think about it or worry about it at all, which is fine too. I'm not here to judge. I guess I'm here to chatter and quilt. But I do think that a lot of us, or at least maybe it's me, maybe I'm just projecting myself onto others, but I definitely have seen conversations about how much efficiency and waste and, people obviously hate waste. It makes sense and it's responsible, but sometimes I think they're beholden to it. Did I use that word again? Is that another weird random word that I must be watching too much like Bridgerton or period dramas with words like beholden, because that's not something I generally use when I'm talking to people. What a weirdo. That's me. You're getting all my quirks today. So far, no big mistakes so that I can tell. So that's good because, that was fun to be recording a Quilt With Me video and have all those mistakes. But it was real. That's for sure. It was absolutely real. All right. So I'm coming up to that corner. See how quick this goes when you do big stitches? It really doesn't take that long. And I always use a thimble because then I can push with that and not hurt my finger. The one thing I need to figure out is that I do have a hand underneath, so I can feel exactly when the tip comes through the fabric. And here's my hand under there. And so because these needles are so sharp, which I love, that's not a bad thing, but it does poke up my finger that is underneath. It doesn't hurt it, but I can tell that it does poke this through the skin here and there. And so, this one it just gets a little textured, and this one too, depends on which I use those 2 fingers the most underneath. And I don't know, maybe I should put a layer of blue tape on them or something, but I want to be able to feel it, but I'd rather not be poked. So I just removed this pin because I could feel underneath here that the fabric was a little bit bunched up. And so that just meant that when I put it in, it got pulled in a way that it probably shouldn't have been. And sometimes when I'm doing this, I'm smoothing the layers to keep them flat and using both hands. So I have my other hand underneath here in the same way, just to feel and to make sure that everything is laying the way I want it to. So yeah, sometimes it shifts a little bit and that's okay. It always lays flat when I do that. I think I'll use orange for this one. I haven't used this much because it's such a dark color, but it's a great little place to use it. Do you enjoy these quote with me videos? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you want me to do more of them? Do you want me to do all the different things like binding and basting and whatever? I don't know if it's more fun for you to be quilting like on the same sort of thing as me. So like if it's more fun for you to be hand quilting right now when I'm also hand quilting versus, maybe you're piecing or cutting or something. Let me know. This is all an experiment for me. And I don't have to do these. Obviously, it's easier for me to just go and quilt without recording it. But somehow it feels a little less lonely knowing that you'll be watching this and quilting with me, even though you're not, with me in real time. My intention with it is that it's kind of like when you're at a retreat and, you're all working on your own stuff, but you're able to chatter with each other and learn a little bit from each other. And, it's not like somebody's teaching something, but you're just enjoying something easy to listen to. And I know like there's other channels that have knit with me or clean with me. And, so the part of me that loves to be with other people, but also doesn't want to people all the time. Like I love people, don't get me wrong. But I have 6 kids and sometimes I'm tired and I just want to sew alone, but I don't have something to like listen to or I would love some companionship without much social obligation. Does that make sense? Like quilting is my time. So I thought that this could fill that gap, that you could listen, you could quilt with me and feel like you're here with me, but you don't have to talk back. You don't have to engage if you don't want to. I mean, I love seeing your comments and I will do my best to reply to them. But it's kind of my thought. It's like, I actually kind of like some of those study with me or knit with me or whatever videos, and I haven't seen any in the quilting world. Let's do this green again. And so actually, I think I have a little piece of teal left. Maybe? Now we'll just do, let's see. Oh, I have the perfect green left. Excellent. Already had one ready to go. But I just thought it might fill that gap. Like maybe you're like me and or maybe there's just no opportunities to get together and quilt with people. I live pretty rural and it's rare for me to get to a retreat or something unless I'm teaching a workshop, which I only do locally as well because even though my kids are getting older, I have 2 adult children, one who's finally moved out, the other one who's still here and trying to save up some money before she leaves. There's still so much that is in my life, and I feel like I'm always managing, the children or doing rides. I feel like a professional taxi. That's really what I feel like. And sometimes I don't have the capacity to like box everything up, and I guess I don't use boxes, but like pack it all up and go and quilt with other people or whatever. So we're trying that. Okay, so now I'll share this with you. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 in one direction, and now I'm going to turn the corner. You can see all 4 of my needles are in the corners, just waiting for me to turn the quilt. And it's not a big deal to turn the quilt. It doesn't take that long, but if I did it every single time for every single corner, it just adds a lot of time onto my quilting. So I've just found that this is a much more efficient way to do things. Again, back to efficiency. And it's kind of satisfying because then I can just focus on quilting and it feels like I'm getting bigger sections done at the same time. These edges are always a little tricky to hold on to, honestly, but doing my best. Like I said, I do like that I can make my knots inside the quilt without having to like pull it through the flannel on the back. You know, it's just, I like to pop my threads through the back of the quilt instead of the front, because when I'm using these bigger needles and the bigger threads, I think it has a bigger hole sometimes. And I hate putting a hole in my quilt, in the fabric on these quilts. It's not bad, it's not huge, but I've just found that the flannel, one, it's on the back, but two, I feel like I can get through that a little bit easier. I don't think it's much less, I don't think it's like woven much less densely or something, but it just pops through easier. And then if there is a little hole left over, I mean, you can always kind of do this and get the hole to go back to normal, but it's on the back, so it's not as big of a deal. And so that's how I've always done it. But these edges allow me to not have to pop anything through because I can put it in the middle of the sandwich without worrying about it because of that raw edge. I'm going to need to take a break to drink some coffee in a moment and soon put another log on. That fire just always needs to be fed to keep going. That's another thing I learned moving here, is that different wood burns differently, which I should have known. I grew up on a farm. My family heated with wood. My dad loves making firewood. But I didn't really learn it until I moved here and we started having fires in the house often because we have electric baseboards, which are so expensive to use, and also just don't do a great job in a big space. Like, they work and they're fine, but this fireplace in front of me is a super efficient one. Oh my gosh, we're back to efficiency. Guess that's the theme of the day. But it really heats like half of the house almost completely. Like, I didn't turn my heat on until November this year because the fireplace was sufficient to heat this side of the house without a problem. The other side was an addition onto the house by the previous owners and has in-floor heat, which is amazing because there isn't a fireplace over there. It's kind of behind this wall and wasn't part of the original house. And so this doesn't heat that at all. So it's nice to have that over there. That gets turned on a little earlier. But the windows do a great job too of actually bringing in the heat on the sunny days. It's really warm in here on sunny days. I don't always keep a fire going when it's sunny, but with it being so cold outside, it certainly doesn't hurt at all. I love hand quilting. It's funny because when I was young, this is the part that I'm just like, ugh, or binding or any needlework I didn't love. But I've really come to love that in this part of my life, and I'm not sure why. Nothing seems to take as long as it used to, and I don't think it's because I'm that much faster. My whole perception of time is different now. Like, I remember when an hour used to feel like a really long time, and now it just feels so short, and a year flies by like nothing. And I mean, it feels like what a month used to feel like as a kid. I think that's about, and even a month felt like forever when I was young. And so I don't know if it's just that now it doesn't seem to take as long because time goes faster, or I've realized that even just doing a little bit here and there, like obviously this is a bigger sit down and sew session, but if I have it handy, like in the mornings, and I just pick it up and I just do one line of sewing, if I do that every day for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it gets done. And if I just put my phone away, or like I'm doing now, set it on a stand to record something, or keep it out of my grasp, I spent a lot of time scrolling on my phone over the years, in part for my business. I've had an online business for almost 15 years now, full time. So I've had to have been online a lot, but it's easy to get sucked in and to mindlessly scroll during small times when I could be picking up a project and quilting or doing something else that I enjoy that's creative. And so just trying to adopt that mindset and that practice of instead of, trying to escape from a life by grabbing my phone or fill a moment, by grabbing that, like if I can have a project sitting there ready and waiting that I can just pick up and do a little bit of, they get done. Like we spend so much time on social media or YouTube or Netflix or whatever device it is. It could be anything. And just converting a tiny bit of that time into creating has improved my life so much. And I don't know, the older I get, the less I want to be on social media, which, ironic since this is going to be in YouTube, right? But you get it. All right, so I got to this star, this diamond shaped star. I love doing these cathedral windows in different shapes and floating around. I do them in a non-traditional method using a sewing machine that I'm not going to go into here. I've got a whole workshop showing exactly how to do those and make these into any shape you want. But that's not the point of this today. But since I got here and I need to switch to a different color thread, I am going to end this one. And this one I do have to do on the back. I always put my knots on the back. I don't know if you have done this before, but I just wrap the thread. I make a loop with my thread, point so like it, like a loop. Like I'd point it as if it's a loop. I wrap the thread around 2-3 times, pull it tight to the fabric, press it down as I pull my needle through so that it makes a knot right next to the fabric. And then I snip that close. And then I just use my needle. So the thread was here, the knot's about an inch away, and I put my needle in even further away. And then I pivot it under here to catch that thread with the needle tip and pull that knot under. And then I just make the little hole disappear, just like that. Not sure that you could see that super well, but that's how I do it, in case you're wondering. Oh, well, shoot. I made a hole in my thread by sticking the needle in it. That's what I get. Now I need a new piece of thread. On this one, it's actually going to go back up. It doesn't end. And so I want to pick a color. I'm going to use my pink. And this one might be a big piece, which is fine. All right. So I'm going to end up turning the quilt pretty soon and working on this edge. For now, let's figure this part out. I've got a new needle in my mouth, so it's not really a good time to talk. And I want to try and get from this enough thread all the way over here. Nope. Right here, it bounces back, so I don't need to go that whole way. So here, this, and then that. You can kind of see how I'm pacing out my, or like choosing how much thread. And see, that does leave a little hole there. You can do this. So like, it's not a big deal to put a hole in the top of your quilt. I just prefer putting my knots in through the bottom. And so I'll do that here. I'm gonna make a knot by crossing it on my finger. So I put the end right on the edge of my finger there, and I make a little X from the loop, and then I just roll that and then grab my other finger while it's rolled and pull it down. Makes a little knot. You probably know that. You've probably got your own way of making knots, but in case you don't, that's how I do it. And then I pull it in and I can feel the knot underneath with my other finger. So like I felt under here and I can feel where that knot is. And once it gets to the fabric, then I just kind of grab the flannel underneath and pull it in the opposite direction until that knot pops through. And then it's ready to go. Very easy. Very, very easy. Okay. I'm going to get to this corner and finish up this side. Then I'm going to throw on another log because it looks like my fire is getting down. I might have to put 2 on so it keeps going. Then I'm going to grab some coffee and then switch to the next thread because this section is also almost done. See how quick this goes? I'm not doing anything particularly fast. It's not like I'm trying to speed through it. It feels really relaxed. But the sewing, like I can do so many inches at a time with this big needle, this Milliner 3. And it's strong enough that it doesn't bend. That's key for me. Like the smaller needles tend to be thinner and bend more. I don't want it to bend. It's really sharp, so it goes through the fabric very easily, all the layers of the fabric and batting. And it's just, I love it. It took me a little bit to get used to the longer needle versus a thinner one, but it works great. So, all right, so now I'm to the end of this. It's about time to turn. I have myself some coffee, get another log for the fire. What a lovely day, making some good progress. All right, so you can see this section is now done, which I'm very happy with. All right. Make sure I don't get that quilt on the log. So what I was saying before that I don't think I finished that thought was that different wood burns differently, and I didn't know that before I had my own fireplace. Maybe I did say it. I don't remember finishing that thought though. So like popple, a lot of people find, like I've heard people say that popple is worthless. It's also called aspen, I think, in some areas. But popple burns really fast, and so it doesn't make a lot of coals. So that's why some people don't like it for heating, but it's awesome for starting a fire or mixing in with some hardwoods that take a long time to burn and are hard to get started, like oak or maple. Mostly we burn birch mixed in with some hardwoods, in case you were interested. All right, so now we're going to do this little thing. So I'm going to just keep going here with this one, and then we'll have 2 more here. I'm going to take another sip. So I don't always have quilting projects laying around that I can just pick up and grab and do. But like this one I have next to me, I also knit. I don't love knitting as much as I love quilting, but I do love knitting. I did a lot of knitting for a while, for a decade when my first 3 were young, because I didn't have a place to keep my machine set up, so I didn't get to do a lot of quilting. So it was much easier for me to grab some knitting and just do a little bit here or there. So this is going to be a sock. This is a 100% wool sock made with superwash, so it can be washed, because even though wool is great at absorbing odors, the idea of dirty socks that you really have to be careful watching sounded awful. So it's not blocked yet. It's not done. All I have left on it is the toe. There goes a needle. I'm really proud of this one. And I've already done the other sock, so I'm almost done with this project after a year. But I designed the color work on it, and the deer or caribou on it, whatever you want to call it. And I really did all of the shaping for my partner, Dale. He's wonderful. He spends a lot of time outside. He loves, even in winter today, he's out in a tent, which has a wood stove in it to heat it up. And he's carving. He's a wood carver. So he has wool socks that he's had for like 20 years that have so many holes in them that I told him I was going to make some new ones for him. So I designed this. I like to do colorway. This is my first pair of socks I've ever done. I've never done socks, but I've done lots of Selbu mittens and or Selbu-Style mittens from their patterns. But I just love doing colorway, and I'm proud of this in part because I shaped the whole thing myself, like according to his leg. So it looks really weird and random, but it fits him perfectly. And shaping the toe because he's got a very, very strongly shaped toe. And it's just, I designed it. It's very pretty. It needs to be blocked so that it lays smooth, but yeah, really happy with that. So this sits around, and this second one I started in October, 2 months ago. We went camping. We do a lot of camping in fall because in fall the bugs are practically gone. That's cooler, but it's wonderful to camp in fall. So there's no bugs. The weather is nice. It's not overly hot, and it's quieter. There's less tourists and other people camping. We camp in the Superior National Forest or the Boundary Waters and fish and whatever, but I always bring some sort of craft to do, cross stitch or knitting. And so I got a lot done one weekend when we went camping. I was able to knit like the whole weekend, which was amazing, other than when we were setting up camp. And we canoe camp, so we had to canoe a couple miles to the campsite and then make sure we had firewood and, all the things that go into camping. I don't know if you're big into camping. Let me know in the comments. But we do canoe camping every year. We try and do a 10-day canoe camping trip when my kids are with their dad so that I have a little free time. And some people like to go to resorts and like fancy places on their vacation. I like to go to the woods and exercise. Like, I love the exercise, the hiking, the portaging, the canoe camping. And this past year was amazing. It was way warmer than normal, which is strange. We actually had bugs, which was not so awesome. And we had a lot of rain, like a lot of rain. So it was very wet. But we did, I think, over 70 miles on foot and canoe, about half on foot and half portaging, or I'm sorry, half in canoe and half on foot portaging, which means carrying the canoe and all your camping gear from one lake to another, because the Boundary Waters up here is like hundreds, actually it's probably thousands of miles of protected land. Hopefully it'll stay protected. There are people who want to mine it, which is just terrible because it's like pristine wilderness and like literally no roads built into it. It's like the only real wilderness other than like Alaska that I know of, or maybe the desert. But anyways, it's just an amazing thing to be out there, and it's totally off the grid, which is a little unnerving as a mom. All you moms out there understand. Hard to be, like if something would happen with my kids, there'd be no way to find out about it till I was back from the trip. But that unplugging and like roughing it and camping and portaging and adventuring is so good for my soul. It's like my favorite thing. I might even enjoy that more than quilting. I don't know. That's a big statement because I love quilting. Quilting is my art of choice, but I really love being out in nature. There's just something about it that feels right. And man, it gets you in shape real fast, real fast. This past year was a little bit more than I normally would want to do. We normally we move between campsites. We do like a loop between several different lakes and campsites. And so there's a lot of portaging, but normally we'll travel for a day and set up camp and then stay for 2 nights. And then we'll travel for a day and stay at the next campsite for 2 nights so that we have a day in between to rest and to craft and to do whatever we feel like doing. I sit in my hammock and cross stitch or knit or sleep or read, or just eat. Oh my gosh, I sleep so much out there. It's insane. But this past year, we only did like two campsites where we stayed for 2 nights. So it was a lot of like pack up in the morning and then move camp and reset up camp after a grueling day of travel, in part because we wanted to go on the Frost River. I don't know if you're familiar with the Frost River or not. Probably not. It's not like internationally known or anything, but it is regionally known. There's a company called Frost River that makes incredible gear, canvas, like traditionally made canvas packs and leather packs and such. And they named it after that river. It's kind of iconic. It's so remote. It's like ridiculous. It took 3 days for us to just get to the river, let alone it took us 2 to go down the river. And we went after a big rainstorm. So water was high and it was insane. We were going to do it in a day. It took us 2. So we didn't get to do as many overnights in one campsite as we normally do. So it was a bit exhausting. I'm not going to lie. It was kind of on the edge of my comfort level. I was just like, next year, we're going to do something different where we don't have to travel every single day. But it was kind of fun. By the end, I was so strong. Like by day 10, you're just like, you feel invincible. In the middle, I felt like a train wreck. I mean, I was literally sleeping 12-hour days or nights. One night, oh my gosh, right in the middle of the Frost River, which the first day on the Frost River, because it had rained literally probably inches, multiple inches, because it was probably, we could see from the rainwater. It was 2 days earlier that we had the big rain. We got soaked, like everything was soaked. We had standing water inside of our tent. It was just very wet and uncomfortable. But I mean, it was, I would guess, 5-6 inches of rain. It was insane. And the river was so flooded. It was a couple feet higher than normal. We could tell that it had gone down because of the grasses. Like you could see where the grasses were pushed over and how high it had gotten. I'm so glad we didn't do it a day earlier. But that first day was a little hairy at times because the current was really high. And normally in fall, the problem is less about like a fast current, and the problem is more about like the water being too low and needing to, portage more, drag the canoe more or whatever in the low spots, which was not at all our issue. In fact, some of the portages were over running water, which was kind of scary because they were flooded still. But that first day we were going to go the whole way, and it was a challenge. So we stopped. There's like one campsite off one lake that you can stop at, and beautiful campsite. And that night, and I was just like fried and questioning my life choices and like, should we have done this? This is a little more than I was expecting. Probably should have been in better shape for this, because I didn't train or anything for it. And we were carrying a lot of gear. And the portaging is literally carrying your gear while hiking. It's just crazy. And we had a lot ahead of us. Like we had a lot ahead of us. And so I was just questioning my life choices and kind of having a little mini like, oh my gosh, I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's no easy way to get out, and I have to keep going. Like we can't stop, and we can't quit and just be like, let's go home, which, I wouldn't have wanted to do that anyways. But that night, the Northern Lights came out, and oh my gosh, it was like one of the most beautiful Northern Light shows I've seen in a long time for like an hour. And I just laid on the grass because it was just beautiful out, and at this campsite, and watched the Northern Lights dance over me for like an hour. And I probably drifted off a little bit because I was so tired, and it would wake back up a bit. But that was so magical. It was such an incredible opportunity. And because the Boundary Waters don't have roads, don't have lights, like there's no motorized vehicles allowed in it. And like I said, it's literally thousands of miles, square miles. And you can see every star in the sky. It's just the darkest skies, and it's so beautiful. So that was just absolutely magical. And it kind of encouraged me and made me feel better. So it was actually kind of neat because when they first start, and I know this because we get a lot of Northern Lights up here. By the way, look at this cute little squirrel. Oh my goodness. I do love the Tula pink stuff for that. But it starts out with a glow, and it's usually just kind of a white glow. Like cameras on a camera, they'll look green or red, but it's rare that you see the color with your eyes. You can when it's really strong, but this one was just kind of a white glow and or a gray glow. And that's kind of the signal that it's there. But then I knew like, and it was, the glow was growing. So I knew it was kind of the beginning of a storm, like when it was just hitting Earth. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I just know, I can tell it's going to bust open and start dancing and go crazy. And literally within like 2 minutes after saying that, we had covered half the sky. So like there was a line down the middle of the sky right above me. And so one side was kind of this glow, the other side was dark stars. And then all of a sudden it started dancing above me on half the sky. And it looked just like my luminary quilt. And even my partner Dale was like, oh my gosh, it's your quilt in the sky, because it was all of these rays on half of the sky for the first like minute that it burst out. And then it just like went crazy, which was so fun and so beautiful. It wasn't bright enough to really see too many colors. I mean, the pictures show colors because cameras pick that up a little bit better. But it was still absolutely gorgeous. When they start getting pillars and like dancing rays, it's otherworldly. I don't know if I can even explain it if you haven't seen it. And you can watch, I'm sure you can watch videos here about it. It's really magical in person though. Like obviously it's not as, like I said, it's not as colorful as what you would see in a video or in photos because of how the sensors capture light to expose the image. We won't get into the technical aspects of that. I used to be a professional photographer, so I understand it all, but it's amazing. And then we did have it's been a really good Aurora year, actually. After that, we had, like, there was a month or two after that, sometime in the last, 2 months, there was a crazy Northern Lights storm that was seen by my cousin down in Arizona even, which was insane. But that one, the sky looked like a rainbow. Like you could totally see the reds and the greens and blues, and like it wasn't just white up here. It was multicolored, mostly reds and greens and different shades of those with like the white mixed in. And it was like the most colorful aurora I've seen in maybe my whole life. I don't know. I saw them a bunch as a kid too. I didn't appreciate them as much then or understand as much then, but that was pretty amazing. Okay, so I'm at a star again. Speaking of stars, and do a knot and start a new piece because I almost ran out. Starting to get hot with that sunshine shining on me now. Not as nice light for you to watch, but I'm hoping you're not watching me. I'm hoping you're like listening to me and maybe peeking at what I'm doing, but I hope you're quilting. If not, when I'm just in the background and you're doing your thing, that's totally cool too. Let me know if that's something. Do you like these? If these videos are fun for you, or you learn something, or you want me to do more of them, please let me know, because I feel a little crazy talking to myself. I don't know if you have any interest in my random stories or thoughts on efficiency or any of that, but I'm happy to do more of them while I quilt because, like I said, it keeps me focused and it's kind of fun. It's fun to know that you're there watching and I can do my stuff. So, or make lots of mistakes like I did in the other one that I recorded. Oh my gosh, that was such a train wreck. Literally was like messaging my friend saying, should I publish this one? Because I don't want people to think, oh shoot, I dropped a needle. I don't want people to think that I'm a terrible quilter. Like I've been doing this over 30 years. I know what I'm doing. But it was like, oh my goodness, one thing after another, because I was chattering just like this. And I just wasn't paying as much attention as I should have to the direction of my blocks, I guess. Would be curious to know what you like to listen to while you quilt. I like to listen to audiobooks. I just listened to Elizabeth Gilbert's book called All the Way to the River. It's her newest book. She's the one who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. If you ever read that book or watched that movie, also fantastic. But this book was one of the most raw and vulnerable and honest books I have ever read. It's basically about how she gave away parts of herself and like to her partner, and her partner had cancer and was dying, and so it was that process, and it was like both the good and the very messy and the messed up, both from her and her partner, but also the healing and the lessons. And it wasn't an easy book to listen to, so to speak, at all, because obviously when you are listening to somebody's memoir of losing a partner to cancer, there's going to be some really hard parts in that. But even as a super highly empathetic person who has to be careful about what I listen to and consume, it was amazing. Like, she did it so well and so honestly. Like, I hope my daughter and sons, I would love for my kids to read that at some point. Probably not yet. It's a little intense for my younger ones. My adult kids could handle it, but it was, I mean, the biggest takeaway for me, beyond just like her raw vulnerability, which was incredible, was this idea that it's so easy for not everybody, but many of us to give away parts of who we are or things we love in sacrifice for others. And we do it in love, and we do it with good intentions, but it can be done to our harm. And so that was part of this, was her talking about how it consumed her life in good ways and bad ways. And it was very powerful. It was really, really powerful. Highly recommend it. One of the most poignant, I don't know, powerful books I've read in like ages. So, Elizabeth Gilbert, All the Way to the River. It's great. If you have a paid Spotify account, you can listen to it for free, which was how I did it. I love that. But it would be if you're an audio, since you're a quilter and you're listening to this, I assume that you are listening or watching things while you quilt. It'd be good for that, because Elizabeth Gilbert actually reads the audiobook, and her emotion in it is so powerful. Like, the way, like, to hear it in her own voice is just, it's amazing. So I would recommend the audiobook. Highly, highly recommend. All right. So back to quilting. I am at this is my last big star, and I'm seeing that I need to go all the way out here. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels of stitching. And I have some stitched here, some stitched here. This edge is not stitched yet, so I don't want to start over here, because I want to anchor by the stuff that I've already done. I will start in the middle and move to the edges. And I think I don't like to start down here and do this first before doing this, because this is more the center of the quilt. But I also don't like to start like in the middle. Yeah, I think I'm going to start here. I think I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go this way, because I feel pretty confident that that's the better way to do it, to keep the quilt flat. And then I'll come back and I'll do this direction, since I won't want to have a thread that's, this whole huge section anyways. So there's my rambles. And most of this, I'm guessing, is going to be in pink. This is all going to be in pink. So let's get this started and make it happen, shall we? This is like, once I get this section done, throwing my sharp scissors around, then I'm going to be really, really close to done, which is exciting, because I'm excited to get it done for my daughter, but also I'm going to be giving this to her in like just a couple weeks. It's the beginning of December as I'm recording this. And I love showing these off at my quilt guild. I'm in the Lake Superior Modern Quilt Guild. And once I give it to my daughter, I guess I could steal it back and take it and show it. But I'd love to be able to have it done for our Christmas party show off tomorrow. before, that's part of wanting to finish it now. Needs doing anyways, but then I can bring it and show it before I give it to her so that I don't have to steal it away from her for a day. Not that it takes a full day to go to the guild, but because I live in the woods, it's an hour and a half away from me. So I'm gone for most of the day, or at least half of the day. It's worth it though. I really enjoy that guild. It lets me connect with other quilters and yeah. So I'm starting in this corner technically, but because the star is here, I'm going to use that as my starting point. So I will do a couple stitches from here in an awkward direction for me. Normally I like to stitch across, not up, but I'll do it just for these few little stitches. They won't be as even or as perfect. I am not going for perfection at all. I know how to do perfection, and for certain things, I absolutely will put the extra effort in and whatnot, but for 90% of what I do, it's just not worth it. I still enjoy, like you can see those points, maybe you can't, but that is these are like perfect points. Pretty dang close. Do a good job with my half square triangles. A lot of people, here's my secret, a lot of people make their half square triangles and then trim them to size. I don't. I've found that using a half square triangle ruler that cuts them to the right size before you sew them together from strips instead of like squares is faster for me. And also, ironically, it's more accurate because they're easier for me to cut than to trim a half square triangle perfectly. I use the block lock when I do trim them. I have trimmed them in the past. That made it easy. So if you are trimming half square triangles ever, get yourself a bigger block lock. I think mine is like 6 inches, so I can do any size from there or below. Like you don't have to have the exact size. You can use a bigger one still. I'm sorry, I can't show this to you. If you look at my Instagram, you'll see me doing that, but that'll trim it pretty close. But even then, like I hate trimming these things, and I get just as much accuracy using the no trim method, and it's more efficient also, and it doesn't take as much time because trimming is like my least favorite. Basting is my least favorite part of the whole quilting process. If I never had to baste again, I would be very happy, but I tolerate it because it brings me to my favorite part, which is this hand quilting. And the sun is now on my quilt, so I don't know how easy it'll be for you to see. But yeah, I mean, the accuracy is great. And I always do a couple of practice blocks before I do the whole quilt just to make sure I have the scant 1/4 inch, that mythical thing that people are like, how do you do that? Practice, figure out exactly where your seam edge should be by doing an actual block. I do a couple practice blocks with scraps. And then once I get it down, I just try and stay consistent with that. And then they turn out fantastic. You obviously need to be careful not to stretch stuff that's on the bias, but especially if you're doing smaller HSTs, you do not have to. That's short for half square triangles. You're not handling them a lot, so you don't have to worry quite as much about. I mean, you do have to worry about stretch, but since you're not handling it a ton, it's usually not that hard to keep it from stretching. Some people starch things and I don't know, do all sorts of different things. I don't. This mama doesn't have time for that, so. All right. Very happy to get that line done. It will pop my knot. So hopefully I'll have this all done by tomorrow. If I can at least sew the binding onto the front, I sew them onto the front and then I hand stitch it on the back, just with a whip stitch. I don't do the big stitch stuff on the back like some people do, but we all do whatever we do. Then I'll probably bring it to the guild, even though it's not completely finished. Maybe I'll finish it. Hard to say, but depends on what other stuff I have on my plate for my business, because right now my kids are with their dad for a couple of days. And while I miss them dearly, it is nice for getting stuff done. So I try and get as much done as I can when they're gone so that I can enjoy them as much as I can when they're back. Actually makes me a better mom. So if there's any other divorced parents out there who are listening to this, who understand, like I used to feel bad that I enjoyed the time when my kids were away, but now I have realized that this time that I have for taking care of what needs to get done and self-care, like, well, number one, I'm way more efficient when the kids aren't here. Like, it is unbelievable how much easier it is to get stuff done when you don't have constant distractions. But number two, I'm a better mom when I get to do stuff that I enjoy, like quilting. Oh, look at the cute little kitty. We're in the kitty section. That makes me happy. See, it's fun. Fabrics make me happy. I haven't bought a lot of Tula pink, but I just loved this Full Moon Forest bundle. The colors in it are gorgeous. I'm so glad that I got some of it. I have a tiny bit left, like a 16th of a yard, basically like a 4 to 5 inch strip off of each fat quarter that I will probably use for some sort of small project for me. Maybe I'll make myself a tote bag or something. I haven't decided yet, but I really fell in love with it. And I do a lot of quilting in solids because when I make a new pattern, my first pattern, the luminary quilt, which I told you about earlier, I'll see if I can remember to put a picture of that on the screen for you. If not, you can find it at my website. But the luminary quilt, where was I going with this? My first pattern. I made it from scraps in my stash, and many of them are out of print now. And I made it in 2016. So it's not a new pattern, but I didn't really start marketing it in a big way until January of 2025, 9 years later. And so the quilt that I love that is on the cover is all the fabrics are out of print. And I have people asking me, like, what fabrics did you use? So I decided that when I would make new quilt patterns, that I would always do a solid version so that if, it lasts and is popular 10 years from now, like Luminary has been, and then I don't have to tell people who are like, oh, I love that, I want to make that exact version. I don't have to tell them that they can't because all the fabrics are out of print. So I actually made this quilt, the Stardrift quilt, in solids, blues and purples and greens, because I wanted a night sky. And I haven't done a lot of dark quilts, so I wanted to try a darker quilt. I guess the luminary has a navy background, but such a bright starburst. Oh, shoot. Oh, my thread doubled over. See which one. Can I find it? Oh, yes. Good. I got my tail caught. Anyways, so I did it in solids, and I do a lot of stuff in solids. I did that one in darks, and it was beautiful, and it made a beautiful cover image, and people loved it. And they can make the exact same version. But then I wanted to make the same pattern because I love the pattern. It's gorgeous out of these fabrics because I could just see, I wanted a rainbow gradient background. And it's just very, very delightful to me. Did I go? No, I did the right thing. Okay, needle there. Good. And so I started making it. I laid it out on the floor, and I also have a quilt order for my kids. Like, before I start the next one, I better throw another log on. I have this like order of, like, I go from oldest to youngest, and I made them baby quilts, although I did not make baby quilts for my first two because back then I did not have a place to set up my machine, and I was an exhausted new mother trying to figure out motherhood and just never got to baby quilts for that. So they didn't get baby quilts, but starting with child number 3, my son, all the way through the other 6, they all got baby quilts. And then I went back and I made twin quilts for my oldest 2. And then I started making twin quilts because by then my son, who got the first baby quilt, was coming like he was an up and coming kid. He wasn't, the baby quilt didn't fit him anymore. And God, he loved that thing to shreds. There is nothing left of it at this point. And so because he loved having a quilt for me, I made him another one, a twin size one. And then I started going through, and then Eloise is next. She in line for a twin quilt. And I'm just going to go through the kids. And then once I get through all of them, I'll come back and I'll do like larger quilts for them if they want them, either another twin or a queen or something, because my oldest is 20 and I don't know if she'll get married or not, but I want to give them an adult quilt, and I let them pick the colors and what they love. And so Eloise had picked out like a blue to white gradient for a half square triangles she wanted. I had done one of these before. And then she saw me working on this one, even though I had started the other one. And she's like, oh my gosh, I love that, Mom. They're my favorite colors and all the things. And so she's commandeering this one instead. So I will get to finish the other one at some point. It's sitting in my closet right now, half sewn, which is fine. But I was actually making this one for me when she said that. And because I love these fabrics and I can't resist when a teenager, almost teenager, she'll be a teenager right after Christmas, as her birthday is in January. When a teenager falls in love with fabric and a quilt and you know they're going to love it, how can you not give that to them? I can always buy more fabric and make another one for me. So yes, this one is hers. And it's so fun to work with prints instead of just working with solids. So for this one, I'm actually going to start here instead of here in the corner because I don't want to make that jump inside the quilt. I can do it because my needle is big enough. I just don't like making that jump if I don't have to. And I don't have to. I can do what I want, right? No quilt police here. Just a quilter talking to herself, thinking she's talking to you. Oh, oof de name and fawn. That's what my grandpa would say. I don't think that's highly appropriate. He was born in the US, but his parents were born in Norway, and they spoke Norwegian. They passed away in a tragic accident when he was 6, which is so sad. They're going to vote in their horse and buggy out from the farm, and they were with a couple of neighbors. They were all driving together to go and vote, and it was raining, and this tiny little creek had overflooded its banks, and the bridge had washed out, and they didn't know it because it was dark, horse and buggies, no street lights, any of that, and they all washed away in the river and drowned. Super tragic. He was 6, and apparently he was a mama's boy. But where was I going with this? How did I get onto that? Me talking to myself as a quilter, talking to another quilter. No quilt police. I don't remember why I was telling you that, but that's my grandpa's story. I know that my great-grandmother used to quilt, and my grandpa, I don't remember if he told us how to baste right or something. He gave us some tip for maybe tying the quilt and how she used to do it. He corrected my mom and said, no, my mom used to do it this way. And it was an easier way. Normally, I'm not a fan of mansplaining, but he knew what he was talking about. But I don't remember what I was going to say otherwise. Gosh, golly gee. All right. Me talking to myself? I don't know. Telling all my family stories. Hopefully you are entertained enough for this to be worthwhile. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. The sun on me is really heating me up with this quilt on me. That's not so awesome. Between that and the fire, it makes me want to let the fire die down a little bit. But I know in like 2 hours, when the sun is not on me and the sun goes behind the roof of the house, it will cool off in here so fast. So part of me wants to use up, like enjoy the heat and let it get hot. But another part of me is just like, oh my goodness. Right, starting in this corner underneath the quilt. This is a longer piece of thread because I've got a longer ways around that I want to go. Might have been a mistake. Might be a pain in the ass to deal with, but we'll see. Gosh, how did I get on my grandpa's story? I do not remember. Tragic passings away? Jeepers. I wish I could spend some time quilting with my great-grandmother, and I never got to quilt with my grandmother. She did quilt, but I do have, she passed away a couple of years ago, not that long ago. She lived till she was 93, and I love that woman. And funny enough, like sometimes I feel like she's closer to me now than when she was alive in some weird way. I don't even know how to explain that, but she comes to mind way more often now, and I feel almost more of a connection to her than I did when she was alive, and I find that very interesting and odd. But anyways, I have one of her quilts. It's a Christmas quilt that is mostly pieced. It needs a little bit more piecing, I think, and then it just needs to be bound and quilted, or quilted and bound. And so I will finish that at some point. And she also had the flannel for the back of it, like this plaid flannel, which made me happy because I always put flannel on the back of my quilts because I think it's soft and lovely. And maybe my mom taught me that from her mom, or I don't know, but either way, quilting is in my family. I also have a quilt from my other great grandma. So it was my grandpa's mom who passed away, but my grandmother's mom, so my maternal great grandmother, she used to go to the dump to get old clothing back when, garbage was just a big old pile at the dump. And she would cut the buttons off. So my mom has her collection of buttons from years ago. They're beautiful antique buttons. And then she would take the fabrics and make quilts out of them. And I have this. Also, she made polyester quilts. From the 70s. So that wasn't a scrap in. But I have this polyester quilt from her that I grew up with that is a really unique pattern. It requires Y seams. I'm so surprised because it was like the two quilts I've seen that came from her, and I have one of them, which is such a treasure to me, even though it is polyester and feels plasticky. But it's they're both the same pattern. They're both similar colors, red, pink, and like a yellowy orange, I think. And it's this really challenging, bigger pattern. But yeah, I should think about making that into a pattern because it was maybe not, but it's just a family quilt that is meaningful for me. So, but polyester, I mean, the quilt police who get upset about people using, cheap fabrics or, other fabrics, if you're not using quilt shop fabric, which I do because I really do think it lasts longer. And I love to support quilt shops. I love to go in and touch the fabric. So in part, I'd rather pay more in order to help them stay alive because of the experience and because the quality really does change things. But anyways, I don't ever fault anybody for using different fabrics or cheaper fabrics or thrifted fabrics. That's in my heritage as well. But polyester fabrics, love you, great grandma. I know I got to meet you once or twice when I was real little, but there is just like polyester is not a comfortable material to use for a quilt. It's warm because it doesn't breathe at all, but not something I will be quilting with otherwise. All right, take a drink of this. Probably throw in another log. Time to turn the quilt again. How are we doing on time? We're doing okay. How's your progress coming? Are you making good progress? Let me know. I'm going to grab some more wood. All right, so question is, which way do I want to turn the quilt? This way? It's not going to be easy either way because we're on the edge. So, oh, and there's some of the, well, that's string, but that is a piece of firewood. I'm going to start in the middle and work out because we've got these stitches right here that are close. I hope you are enjoying my random stories that have no point. I would love to hear if you want me to do more of these or not. And if you don't comment, I'll just assume you didn't even get to this part of the video and that it's probably not worth it. So right on these corners, there's just a lot of bulk from the edge of this frame underneath in that seam. So it can be a little tricky. And you'd have to make sure you're not like poking yourself when you do this way. So, and I will need to add another needle up there for just that edge. We'll deal with that when we get to it. You see how I use these? Well, maybe you're not looking, but you can see why I use multiple needles because it makes it so fast to go through, and then I don't have to keep moving the quilt so much, which I cannot stress how much that adds up. I learned that the hard way when I did a quilt design once where I had to keep doing corners and changing the quilting angle, that I am really fast when I can just go straight in one direction. Not so fast when I have to like I know you can stitch from other directions and in different angles, but I'm just way slower at it. And I honestly don't really care to learn to do that much faster because this is a much nicer way to do it. So I just love hand quilting so much. And honestly, after doing some machine quilting for something recently that I just wanted to try it on, I don't think it's that much slower for some things. Like it is slower, but like not for everything. Okay, so at the corner here. These are such fast little stretches of quilting. That one will turn, but these ones will end. I can feel like this one is pulling, not much, because it should be about right, but just a tiny bit. So I'm going to need to remove these basting stitches anyways. So I do kind of trim them as I go sometimes once the actual stitches are there to hold. Because I'm smoothing with my hands, both the top and the bottom hand, to make sure that there's no puckers or folds behind my quilt and that it's laying flat. That's how I get around doing it and not having a hoop, is making sure between my two hands that I can feel that it's good. And that has served me super well. Like you wouldn't think it would be very accurate, but I actually get better quilting doing it this way than when I machine quilt and the feet, even with a walking foot, like the foot changes stuff. I do want to try free motion quilting though. My machine does it. It allows it. It's got a bigger throat space, not huge, but big enough to do at least something small. So one of these days I'm going to play with that, and I'm just going to let myself, like I have a mini wall hanging quilt that I made years ago and never finished. Not because I didn't like it, but because I had a baby and he broke my brain. Number 6 broke my brain and I just didn't quilt for quite a while. But I was waiting and intending to try free motion quilting that. So I will play with that again in the spirit of growing in my creativity and out of joy. Like, it's really freeing. I don't know if you've ever taken the time to just play. In fact, I'm creating a whole membership around play. I'm going to call it the Quilters Playspace because it's so nice to not have to worry about like, investing a ton of money into fabrics and maybe not liking the project or having to do something big. You don't even have to finish the block if you don't want to. You're giving yourself permission to just do something for the fun of doing, like doing it for the joy of doing it versus doing it because you feel like you have to produce something or make something or finish something. And then you can always take those blocks and either make them into a quilt in the end or a tote bag or anything. Like this was a fun little thing I made, God, 20 years ago maybe, to try a quilt as you, well, not quilt as you go. Maybe it is quilt as you go, kind of, but not with like sashing. And I use that thing all the time. It has all my hand stitching stuff in there. It's so faded now. It was one of my first rainbow creations too. There's a part of me that felt like I couldn't do rainbow quilts when I was young because that they would be seen as too like kid style. Like they'd feel like something for a kid and not for an adult. But it didn't take me long. I guess it took me like 10 years to get over that. But after doing that pouch, I'm like, excuse me. I swear, by the way. I was just like, if I like rainbow quilting, I'm going to do rainbow quilting, because I started to embrace and remember that quilting is for me. This is not, there are no rules that I have to follow. I don't have to do this. I mean, now I'm making a living quilting, but I wasn't then. And even now, making a living at it, I still am doing it for me because I love this. And it's just makes me so pleased. But nobody's making you quilt, right? And nobody's telling you what you can and can't use for colors, or that you can't make a quilt that might appeal. Maybe it'll appeal to a kid, but why can't you make an adult version rainbow quilt? Like, I was the generation of Lisa Frank. I don't know if do you remember Lisa Frank? I had the binders and the stickers, and oh my gosh, I coveted Lisa Frank. Of course, I love Rainbow and Rainbow Bright. Rainbow Bright was like a huge show when I was a little kid, and I had Rainbow Bright sheets. Like, of course, I'm going to love Rainbow. Of course. It's part of why I picked the last name Bright when I went through my divorce, because my maiden name just didn't feel like me anymore. It felt like I was no longer that insecure little girl. And I certainly did not want to keep my married name for what I feel are obvious reasons. And so I picked a name. I picked Bright. I thought it would take me forever to figure out what I wanted my new last name to be. It's not a family name. It's just a name that, like, after 2 weeks of like thinking about it, it came to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's perfect, because I love bright colors. I try and have a bright outlook on life that's more positive than negative. And I just knew that was who I was, Jamie Bright. So here I am, as legally as Jamie Bright now, which is so fun. And I've embraced the fact that I love bright quilts. So it's just like so many things with the name really fit. Oops, shoot. See if I can fix that. I caught one. I didn't get all of the threads in there. I'm blanking on what the name of that is. Not skeins. Plies. The different plies. Maybe you don't say plies. I don't know the right terminology, but I got only half of the threads into the needle head, so it made the thread all look funny. Okay. So I'm doing this last one here for this section here. And for this one, I do have to change directions at the corner, and I am quilting at an angle that I don't love to quilt at because I can, and it's less hassle for these 3 inches than to move the entire quilt. Maybe I'm just stubborn. If you hand quilt and do it a different way, please feel free to tell me below. I would love, I'm always learning. Shoot, that's not where I wanted it to land. I'm always learning and trying new things, and I mean, if it's criticism about how my stitches aren't perfect or whatever, I'll probably ignore it. Let's be honest. I ain't got time for worrying about that as much. But even though I do actually use this as kind of meditative practice to keep it repetitive and matchy, but oh my gosh, that sun is so warm. But for the most part, I am open to learning new ways of doing things and curious if you turn your quilts when you hand quilt as often as I do, or try to avoid it, or if you stitch in different directions or use a hoop. Maybe you've never hand quilted at all. If that's the case, I hope you can see that it's really not that hard or fussy. Like, I don't put lines on. If you stick with straight lines and big stitches, it's really easy. Well, there we go again. Almost done with this little section, and then we got to finish the other legs of this. This is a bigger ripple off from this middle diamond. Lots more threads to do before turning it, but we're almost there for this one. This is a big one, and then we just have the other two smaller sides left to do. So do you do any other crafts beyond just quilting? Let me know. Like I said, I knit. I also cross stitch. Not as much. I didn't cross stitch for 20 years. I did it as a kid, and I mean, I've done like everything. Let's just be honest. I've done a lot of different crafts. I really appreciate that my mom enjoyed sewing and crafting and always had stuff around for me and could teach me how to do stuff. That was really a gift. She had a huge sewing room with all sorts of things and did craft shows and sewing and quilting and all the things. She didn't quilt as much. She did quilt though. And I'm so grateful that I was able to pick so much of that up from her. But I did start, I don't know, I got the itch to cross stitch again 2 years ago before our camping trip. And I actually brought that with on my camping trip, the 10-day camping trip, and enjoyed that immensely. I think I've gotten into needlework as I've gotten older. All right, so now here's what I'm looking at in the bright sun. I've got this little section and this edge and this little section to do. So I've got this corner into here and then this side. So I have 2 sides left, but this needle and this needle are going all the way around this way. So I might do those first to get, I don't know, because I want to do this direction. Normally I don't switch up directions like that, and I definitely want to, no, I'm going to leave these here for now. And I'm going to come back over here because I want to stay working on the stuff closest to the stitches. Because if I work over here and there's a big gap in here that hasn't been worked, then I risk having my fabric not lay flat or the layers not lay flat in the back. So since maybe if I had a hoop or something or a frame, I wouldn't have to worry about that here. But because of that, I am going to start over here on the right side, which is closer to the center, and I'm going to move my quilt all the way around, and then these 2 I will come back and do at the very end, or maybe before I do these last 2 right there. That's how, yeah, I'll do these, then I'll do this, and then I'll do these. All right. We're okay on time, which is good. I might have to stop after this section, but I don't know. We'll have a little piece here and a little corner here. Do you have any more over here? That's it, I think. So we're making really great progress. Super close to done, which is exciting. So I need this to be turned this way. Right? Have that right? Yes. And I need to start here. All right, let's do this. It's funny, I'm just like, now what do I talk about? Have any suggestions? I don't know about you, but I always want to quilt a lot this time of year because it's cold outside. I can sit in front of my fire. It is a little bit warm now in this house, though, between the fire and the sun. That sun really changes things. But there's just something about creating in fall or winter. I guess we're not technically winter for like 2 more weeks, but 3 more weeks? 2.5 weeks. Let's be accurate. Why not? Not that it matters, but when the weather turns and starts to get cooler, then I absolutely want to start quilting again. And it is amazing. I cannot believe that I love the hand quilting more than any other part of the process. I mean, I don't even mind binding. Binding's actually pretty high up there because I like doing the hand binding stitch because it's needlework. Maybe I just like needlework. Knitting is not needlework, but I definitely like knitting better than cross stitch. I like stuff you can use. Like I like to make stuff that can be used. So even though I could put my cross stitch on a pillow and use that or on a wall and look at it, I much prefer doing like a big blanket that I can stitch my love into, that somebody can use and feel warmth from. Like I love the fact that it's useful and beautiful at the same time. I just think there needs to be more beauty in the world. So I do I think that's why cross stitch doesn't appeal to me quite as much, even though it's an absolutely beautiful art. I can't believe how much time cross stitch takes. Like that takes way more time for a tiny itty bitty thing than a quilt does. And a quilt is not a fast thing to make. I mean, they can be, but like not, they don't have to be. I suppose cross stitch doesn't have to be either, but when I do a bigger one, they usually take quite a while, which is the way I like it. I like them to be a little more detailed and pretty. Just makes it interesting. I like a challenge. Part of what I'm excited about with the play space is I'll be straight up honest, is that this past year, this is the first year I've been doing Craft to Dream more intentionally. Like I started the business technically back in 2016 when I officially made the luminary pattern because I already had an online business and it wasn't that hard to add it into my existing business as like a DBA or a subsidiary, or I don't know what the official legal term is. It's probably not those things, but it's part of the same business. So it wasn't hard to add the Craft to Dream brand and business name to my existing business. So I set it up then, but I didn't like ever go all in on promoting the luminary pattern. I had a collaboration. I still have a collaboration with Allison Glass. She reached out to me to license it so she could distribute it through printing and sell it that way, which is super fun. And I'm so grateful for that. So she does the print versions. I do at least right now, I do the digital versions and she does that. And it was, just kind of this nice little hobby, bit of extra income and something that I would enjoy doing, but didn't really ever intentionally try marketing until this year. And this year has been such an incredible whirlwind. I've been doing the online stuff for, like I said, almost 15 years full time in other areas. So I was first in photography, teaching people how to be a professional photographer and get clients and do the business sides of things. Because I'm geeky. I like business stuff and pricing and marketing and sales. And it doesn't feel like sales to me. It feels like, like when you go into a fabric store and you see beautiful fabric that you love, you don't need somebody there to be like all salesy and weird about it and try and force you to want to buy it. Like when you find something you love, you don't need to be salesy. And that's kind of how I see sales, is like, I want to attract people and show them beautiful things. And if they like it, they can buy it. I'll invite them to buy it, and support me and whatever else. It's just this beautiful symbiotic thing where once I understood that, I didn't have to be quote unquote selling all the time and I could just be sharing things I enjoyed. And, if I find the right people, I don't have to quote unquote sell. Then it just I just took off. Like it's a totally different way of looking at it. And it was fun. So anyways, I'm getting way off topic and I'm going to end up leaving you hanging again if I'm not careful. But this year, because I decided to start, like a friend had put the bug in my ear, like, why don't you try marketing and selling your pattern more intentionally? And I was just like, because I honestly didn't think that a $15 pattern was something I could make much money off of. But apparently, when you do your marketing right and your sales right, you can make enough to get by on, which is amazing. So this year, I pivoted everything to do the quilting. It's literally a dream come true. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for each and every person who's bought the Luminary pattern, either over the last 9 years or this year. And it's just been a whirlwind of like figuring out what I want to do and what I want to make. And now I've done a couple more patterns. This is Stardrift. And this one I had done a mini on the mini wall hanging of this. And I had always kind of thought it would be a really neat big quilt. And I had asked the people in my community what pattern I should make next. Like if there was anything on my Instagram account that they thought would be cool as a pattern. And this is the one that several people mentioned. And so I made it into a pattern and was working on that. And I was, I loved it. Don't get me wrong. Like this year has been incredible, but I haven't really had the capacity or the space to play. And I find so much joy in not having to finish something, in giving myself the freedom to just let my hobby bring me joy, whatever that means, whether it means literally just petting fabric. Like if I'm just going to go, into my stash, which, I never intended to build a stash, so to speak. It just accumulates somehow. Somehow I go into a quilt store and I bring some home without a project in mind, and it becomes part of my stash. And it brings me so much joy to go in there into my closet and just touch all the pretty fabrics and think about what they could be. So maybe that's what it is, and I don't ever make anything out of them, and that's fully okay. I give myself permission to be free there, or maybe I pull some of it out and I just start cutting and sewing together without a final pattern in mind or whatever it is. Like that's how Luminary came to be. And so if I really want to get back into that play, because this year has been a lot of marketing, which is fine. It's been a lot of making different samples of my patterns. Like this is another sample of the Stardrift pattern, because I want people to be able to see the different variations they can make from it. And I love it. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's a big project and it takes a lot of time. And like even just the hand quilting takes hours to do, right? So this year has been a lot of really focused quilting and not as much play as I like to do. Like I love to have just some playtime with my quilting. Like I said, either to pet the fabrics or just cut them up and sew them together and cut them up and sew them together and see what happens. Like that's how Luminary was born, was through that play. And I like to play with limitations. So I like to take and give myself some boundaries. So like I might decide to take a color or a single fabric or, play with paper piecing or whatever it is and just see what happens. And that's what like lights me up so much. And so that's part of why I decided to create the Quilters Playspace, because I want to play myself more and I want to have some accountability. Let's be honest. That's part of why I'm in a guild, is because I love having like this is a deadline. If I want to show this off, which I just love hearing, like I love seeing other people's quilts and I love hearing that people like my quilts. I mean, I'm going to shamelessly say I love the praise and I don't need it. I love it. I do this for me. That's not the main reason I do it, but it sure feels nice. It does, because now my daughter loves this quilt, and that's exciting. But like most of the time I'm doing my quilts and I'm all excited about something and nobody else in my family gets it. So when other people get it and are excited with me, it just feels really good. And so that's part of why I like the guild. And then I know that if I don't have this done in 2 days, I won't be able to show it off there as easily because my daughter might have it and, whatever else. So it's just, I could probably steal it from her, but it's a great reason to spend some time quilting on this right now. And I need to finish it anyways. So having deadlines and having accountability from other people is so motivating for me. And so that's kind of what I want to design with this Quilters Playspace, is to have a monthly challenge where we play. Like, you don't have to do a big quilt. You can, we'll have a prompt and we'll have some guidelines so that you have some sense of, it's not just going to be like, make something, because that doesn't work for me. Like, I have to say, hey, okay, I have this pile of scraps left, and what else could I do with them? Or I noticed from this thing, like, this was a fun technique, but it was so putsy because it had to be really precise. What if I wasn't as precise with it and I just played around? And so that's kind of how I am viewing this, is like, when I have a challenge, then I tend to be my most creative. And I guess an example of that is I made a tote bag for this upcoming guild meeting, because it's actually our holiday party meeting and we're doing a tote swap. So there was a couple different tote patterns you could pick from, but then obviously you can take one of the panels and customize it with whatever quilting you wanted. And I was like, okay, how can I make like, what kind of tote can I make? And I wanted to make it from my scraps, just because it was, I have a lot of them and I don't want them to go to waste. And that's like the perfect thing to use for scraps, or like a tote is a perfect size to use up for scraps or stuff from my stash. And I actually had a pile of Selvedges with fuzzy edges on them. They were Kona solids that I am using to make another quilt. And they were laying in a pile. I was going to throw them away because I'm not a selvage saver. Even though I have the String Magic quilt, which is using Ruby Star's Selvedge Magic fabric that's made from selvages, like, it's printed selvages on regular fabric. It's kind of like cheater selvage fabric. And I made a whole quilt off of that because that was another challenge that inspired me. So there's that. But anyways, I didn't know what I was going to make for this tote. And I gave myself some boundaries. Boundaries is probably the wrong word, but just some guidelines that I thought I would follow, like, just to keep it fun for me. And then I just saw those selvages laying there in a pile that I was going to throw away. And the edges were so fuzzy. And I'm like, oh, they just look fun. I'm like, what if I use those and I put the fuzzy edges out and let it be like textured? So I sewed them into a panel with the fuzzy edges. It's somewhere on my Facebook or Instagram if you want to go looking for it. And I love the thing. Like, I think I'm going to save selvages and actually cut them off with a little extra fabric from those solid fabrics when they're like that, and do something fun with that. Like, it triggered play for me, and it triggered something very creative that I would never have set out to do. And I love a good challenge. I really love a good challenge. So that's what I want to do. I want to do more challenges in the upcoming year. And I honestly need the accountability, because otherwise I will continue, not that it's wrong to keep making patterns and whatever else, but I really want to build a community of quilters who want to do challenges together. And there's just something so freeing about being able to do, like, you could literally sit down and do a challenge in 10 minutes, depending on the challenge. But then I can also like teach and give, guidelines, and hopefully allow you to play and to learn something and create more creative stuff without committing to having to do something really big, or, like, everybody does a block of the month these days. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think it's a neat experience, but it's just not, I don't want to do a block of the month. I'm going to do one this coming year because my guild is doing it, and I want to participate, and I want the little pin they have. And I think it's fun. I don't love the block of the month that they've picked. It's a free pattern. I find that free patterns generally aren't as nice as the ones that you pay for. But it's what everyone's doing, and it'll be fun to see everyone's variations on the same pattern. So I'll find a way to make it fun. But that being said, I didn't want to just run a block of the month because I don't want you to feel behind if you don't do one month or whatever else. I didn't want to have the accountability to finish something. And so my whole thought process with this is being able to play together without having to finish, but also giving us the chance to be creative and celebrate and have these block. You could put them together as a quilt at the end of the year if you want to. That's totally a way to do it. Or you could just burn them or throw them away or use them as batting for another quilt if you hate them. Or, there's all sorts of other ways you can be creative with these orphan blocks that you'll have after it. But what I've found, the honest truth, is that when I take that time to play, moving around this quilt is just such a hassle because it's big. Actually, maybe I should do it this way for this one final edge here. That's in the other direction. Anyways, the play that I do and the stuff that comes out of these tends to be turn into my best quilting. And I learn enough, now that I did that little Selvedge thing with the fuzzy tote panel, that just feels so nice. It sparked the idea of what else could I do to it actually makes me want to make another quilt pattern with that technique in it, because I just think that's so fun. What a neat and unique kind of opportunity. I'm not a selvage saver, like I said, but I can totally come up with something kind of fun with that. That might be a good baby blanket because it has that extra texture on it and it has that just 3D feel. And most quilts are not 3D. This quilt is actually 3D. These stars are made using that cathedral window thing. It's pretty thick right here. That's why I'm not quilting through this part. But they're 3D. They have this extra fun little flap. And if you have any neurodivergence in your life that like textures and such, it would be perfect for that. And I just think it's fun. It's different. It looks different and it feels different. And it was so fun to sew. And I'm always looking for more ways to be fun and creative. So that's why I'm doing this Quilters Playspace. Way cheaper than most of the block of the month. So you don't have to do any shipping. It's like the cost of a pattern per month right now. At least that's where I'm starting. Maybe I'll increase it later. But I want to have this community of play. And I want the accountability and the reason to be playing myself every month, because it will be, I think it's going to be really inspiring and it's going to help me do my best work. But also, I think I'm just going to enjoy it more because then I don't have the pressure to finish anything. If I'm busy for a month, well, I'm going to have to do it since it's mine. But I also really get excited about seeing what everyone else does. And I want to feature these challenges on the YouTube channel. So after the challenge is over, I want to actually show off some of the challenges, the results of the challenge, the little mini blocks or whatever it is. They'll probably be blocks that people make with the challenge to show all the different ways it can spark your creativity. And so I'm excited about that. That's next on my thing because I love designing patterns. Don't get me wrong. But I think that there are so many rules in our heads, even in mine, that I've been trying to get rid of. All the shoulds, stop shoulding on yourself. Anytime, in my head I hear, I shouldn't do this because I need to finish this first, or I should do this first before I start another project, or before I buy this fabric, or whatever it is. Anytime I hear a should, I'm trying to recognize that that's not a desire. And this hobby that I'm choosing is a desire. It's a choice. And if I don't want to do it, why am I doing it? If it's not bringing me joy, why should I even bother? So I'll put a link to the membership below because it should be, by the time this is live, the membership will be up and running and I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for it. I haven't been excited about a membership in ages, and this one I'm excited for. But yeah, check the description. I'll put a link there. Oh, this is a big enough piece of thread that I can use it in the end. Nice. But I'm excited to play, and I'm excited to feature some of the stuff you do and have you in my community and do it with me. I think it's going to be really fun. And I like to show people's stuff off beyond just my own. So I am very much so looking forward to that creative challenge for the upcoming year and to have a reason to do that every single month. Like, I'm just ridiculously excited. Now I just have to figure out what good challenges are because, sometimes I just create my own. Oops, that's not a great place to have my knot. Sometimes I just create my own challenges automatically. Like I saw in one of the online Facebook groups that I'm a part of, the Young and Millennial Quilting group, which is a phenomenally huge and are you kidding me? There we go. It's so that's what you probably shouldn't do. I wanted my knot further inside because I had it too far out on the batting. I don't want it to get cut off when I do my binding. And so I cut the knot off. I retied the knot without actually moving the space of the thread. So it was like right back in the same place. So I just pulled it tighter and pulled it through the batting, ripped through the batting a little bit. So that's probably not the right way to do it. So don't yell at me because I don't care. It worked. No one will ever know. It's not going to make a big problem in the quilt, but yeah, that's real world quilting for you right there. That's how I like to. Rebel quilting? Is that a thing? Rebel quilting? We can make it a thing. Anyways, I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be super fun, and I'll have an excuse to do it. And I just got to come up with some good challenges. That's what I was saying is that this summer in this group that I'm a part of, I saw somebody say, they pointed out the Selvedge magic fabric, and they're like, what do you do with this? Because it's such a different stripy fabric. It's very unique in its design. And I was like, what would I do with this? As a not somebody who's a Selvedge lover or a Selvedge saver, but I just thought, I like the colors and I like Ruby Star stuff. It's very pretty. It's not my first go-to, but it's similar. It's a little outside of what I normally use. And that's good because it stretches you. And so I just thought, what will I design with this? And I made a whole new quilt in quilt pattern called String Magic out of it that I would never have done if I hadn't I was obsessed. I love having a good challenge. So, all right. Let's see where we're at. Pull out this binding thread. I am so excited. What time am I at? Oh, I have more time. I have about a half an hour more at most that I can quilt. So do we want to, let's do this little piece for sure. Right here. Little raccoon. Ooh, that's a fun story. Yes, I have a story about raccoons. I have a couple stories about raccoons. Let's see if I have time to tell you both of them. But first, before I get to the raccoon story, and why didn't I trim that thread? Oh my gosh. I tied the knot and I did not trim it. Wow. So, a couple years ago, before my grandmother passed away, my Uncle Paul, who I love dearly and is definitely the troublemaker in the family, always has been, always will be. And he loves animals. And he ended up finding a baby raccoon whose mother had been, I don't know, the mother had passed away somehow. And so he rescued this raccoon and helped it survive until it was old enough to take off on its own. And so he named her Rachel. So we had Rachel, the rescue raccoon, and Rachel, the rescue raccoon, came fishing with my grandmother and my kids and me and my mom, and my kids got to hold Rachel. And so it's kind of fun that this is on there because it's kind of like, oh my gosh, crazy Uncle Paul rescued a raccoon and has a raccoon pet that, he would let wander. He lived on a farm near the woods. So eventually she wandered out and didn't come back. He let her go on her way when she was ready. But she was part of our family for a bit. It's just so funny. I don't know how many people have pet raccoons, but raccoons are generally pretty destructive to garbage and whatever else. And it was just so funny because so my eldest daughter, first one to leave the nest, is living in apartments with a bunch of college age kids. and there's baby raccoons outside, and several of them have been feeding them. And I'm like, it's probably not the best idea. They're so cute. They are so cute. They look like tiny little bandits. But um, she's like, oh, our garbage is in the garage. It'll be fine. So we'll see how that plays out as they get older. But I don't recommend feeding raccoons or rescuing raccoons. They are scavengers and they are destructive. But there's my 2 raccoon stories. It's cute. I like it in there. All right. See, I'm doing this like at an angle, which is not my favorite way to sew, but because this is on the edge and I get a little bit better, I can hold it better when I have it this way versus at an angle. It just feels more stable to do it this way. So I'm going to do it this way. And I'm just going to say good enough. Because sometimes that's what I do. I don't mind going the other way quite as much. This is a little easier this direction. Did I make this big enough to go through? Yes, I did. So here, you'll get to see me go through. I'm making sure I've got my hand underneath right here to make sure that this needle is not sneaking out the flannel. And I'm trying to poke it through at the right place. So this is in the middle of the sandwich. And then coming out the other side. So that thread is just floating behind there, which could cause tension issues or things if I'm not careful. That's why I like to try and avoid that if I can. But I will do it on occasion because stopping here and starting here for just this tiny little space just is not something I want to do. So we're just making it work. And it's fine. Nobody will ever know the difference either way but me and now, all the people who watch this video. Oh, you are going to know so much about my randomness and stories and quilting and playfulness and ridiculousness if you watch these and we do more of them, because it's kind of like stream of consciousness. You're getting whatever's coming to mind, and for better or worse. But I hope it's entertaining enough to listen to at least. And if not, then the views show that you don't like it, or the comments say this is dumb and whatever else, then I don't have to do them. All right. This is so satisfying to be this close to being finished. All right, let's get this one. How's your project coming along? Hopefully you're still enjoying quilting and not making too many mistakes. I had always done pretty simple hand quilting like this until about 6 years ago. A friend of mine's mother passed away, and he's an artist. He's a really well-known artist in painting. He teaches painting, and just adore that man. He's a good friend of mine. And he also has an online business, and I stepped in to kind of help because he was doing this big promotion. I didn't do much. I'm going to be honest. He and his team did most of it, but I kind of stepped in to help a little bit here and there while he was going through some stuff. But I made him a quilt during that time that was kind of a combination of his art and like the colors he uses. It was totally not my color palette. It's totally his. And then I used the luminary piecing method, but I did it with like huge pieces, like super wide strips and small strips, and mixed it up, and I made it scrappy. So I used all sorts of low volume stuff, and then I quilted the crap out of it. Like I hand quilted it, and I hand quilted it dense. Like we are talking quilting that was a 1/4 inch spaced apart. So like it made this gorgeous texture, and I did some embroidery on it, and like I just played. I used different colors and different thread weights, and in part because part of his message, because I attended one of his workshops with my daughter in Mexico. We went and painted on the top of a mountain at this yoga studio near Sayulita, and had just an incredible time. And part of his lessons is learning to take risks in your art and do things you don't normally do. And so I thought I would challenge myself again. You can see a theme here coming on. to make something in his current palette, like the color palette he had been using, and use my way, and then like play with threads and quilting and see that as like texture on top. And it turned out so good, so different from anything I do. And I didn't actually Instagram it because I didn't want him to see it because he's on Instagram before I gave it to him. And then after I gave it to him, like the world all went crazy. Oh my gosh, we are almost done. See me like playing in my quilt. All right, let's see what we got here. What can I do for now in the 10-15 minutes I have left? Do I want to start this or do I not? So I need to do this little section, so maybe I'll start there because I'm echo quilting here still, and that one's already started, so I definitely want to finish that. And then I need to figure out, I think I'll probably finish that because this one's a different one, so maybe I'll do that double there, but otherwise keep them all on the same side. See, I kind of decide as I go. So this is yellow and blue, so we'll take I think I'll take the teal for that. But anyways, that was where I really gained confidence in hand quilting, because I tried so many different things and I learned the different things I loved, and I played with different thread colors, and oh my gosh, I quilted so much. There was so much quilting on that. And it was a well-loved gift, but I don't know. I just wanted to, he's not family, he's just a friend, but he feels like an older brother, like that kind of person. He's just been really supportive of me in my life too. So it was really a neat thing to do for him. And yeah, it was a neat quilt to make. It was a really fun challenge, stretch for me for sure. I didn't know if I would like it in the end, honestly, but it turned out pretty neat, very different from what I normally do. And that's another way I like challenges, is to figure out something and give myself, like I do. I'm realizing this as I'm talking it out and doing this with you, is that I really do love challenges, and I'm excited for this challenge thing to come. I think after this thread, maybe I'll do a little more, but I'm going to have to prepare for my meeting a bit. So I might call it quits so that I can take you and show you my progress. We're almost there. We're going to celebrate this progress. I think we need to celebrate more as quilters because, I mean, there's joy in just the doing. There should be. If there's not joy in the doing, like if you're at a point where you're just swearing at your sewing machine, it probably is a good time to turn it off and come back to it later. Unless you're on a deadline, like I get it. Like this one, I would keep going even if I was struggling. Although I'd probably set it down for a day or two. But if I was trying to finish it like by tomorrow for my daughter, I would finish it by tomorrow regardless, because my desire to give it to her would trump my desire to take a break and stop swearing at it. But thankfully, this one has gone really well. I'm not swearing at it. But how did I get on all of that? Oh, I hope you've had a great time and have enjoyed this quilting time. I certainly have. It's kind of a fun little verbal ramble down memory lane of whatever came out and stories from my past and quilting and whatnot. But I really appreciate you being here with me, and we are going to celebrate, because even though there's joy in the doing, I know how much work goes into quilting, and so do you. Like my friend that I made the quilt for has no idea that I probably spent close to 200 hours, at least 160, if not 200 hours working on that quilt for him. Like he spends 3-4 hours on a painting, and he hates the "how long did it take you" question, because he's like, it took me 30 years of painting to get to the point where I could do this in 3 to 4 hours. But I never really, when he asked me how long it took, I told him 3 months or whatever it was, because I really put all my free time into it. I didn't want him to, I don't know why I didn't want him to know. I think I wanted him to know, but I really didn't want him to know at the same time, like, because it's such a gift, you know? I didn't want him to feel bad about it or anything. So anyways, we're going to celebrate. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to go lay it on the floor, and we're going to celebrate because I think that's where I'm going to stop for right now. I'll probably come back to it later. But for this video, the Sew With Me time, I am going to call it done. My fire is almost out. And it's almost time for my meeting. And I am so glad that we got to spend this time together. So while I'm moving this, put your progress in the comments. And then I'm going to take you over. I'll lay it on the floor again, and we'll take a look at it. All right, so the lighting is terrible because of that nice old shadow right there, but you can see all of this quilting here is all done. Got everything on this side completely done. I got everything on that edge completely done. The only thing that's left is just this little space right there, which looks so tiny now compared to the rest of it. I can show you some of my stitches closer up. So not perfect. And this lighting is really harsh, so you can really see the quilting in it, but I'm very excited about this quilt. So with this, take a moment. Congratulations. It's a funny word to say, but well done. Well done quilting. I'm so glad you were here with me. It's a little nicer outside now, sunny, beautiful. I'm really proud of you. I really am grateful for you for sticking around with me. You did a great job, I'm sure. Definitely tell me all about it and celebrate yourself. I am proud that I got almost all of this done with just a little bit more there. I think it's only going to have taken me about 8 hours to do this whole thing, which is crazy and amazing. And I will definitely have this ready to put the binding on later tonight and be able to at least bring it to the guild tomorrow to show everyone there. And if you are not done quilting, I have more videos on this channel and more quilt with me's. Please go check another one out. I would love to have you, listen to my random rambles. I'd be honored to quilt with you. In those other videos, I'm going to be putting some challenge videos on the channel too, so definitely check those out if you're interested in it. And if you want me to do more of these, let me know. So thank you so much. Well done, proud of you, and watch this video next.